Gabs and Gobs. Welcome back to the stream. So this is going to be the first installment of something that I'm calling Monocular Unplugged. I'm trying to create some sort of specific, branded categories for my stream. So I've got my Spyro Saturdays already. That's where I play Spyro Reignited Trilogy with my 2-year-old. She's mostly providing commentary. She does some of the hard parts for me, but it's mostly going to be me playing and she sort of providing color commentary. So that's a ton of fun. I did some of that earlier today. And then I also have something that I'm going to be calling the finisher, which I'm going to be basically just casual plays, picking up in the middle of games that maybe I started a couple years ago, dropped for whatever reason. I'm trying to get them finished. And that's just going to be just me hanging out playing games. And then I also am doing this one that I'm talking about right now. This is called Monocular Unplugged. This is going to be focused on in real life experiences. So board games, card games, interactive books, those kinds of things. And today we're going to be doing something from the Hunt-A-Killer series. So if you're not familiar with what Hunt-A-Killer is, by the way, I'm holding my phone here, and it's a pain in the butt already. I've got a webcam, pretty good webcam that I've got coming, and then also a nice little boom to keep it in place. So as I've said a couple of times on this stream, we're learning as we go. So yeah, Hunt-A-Killer is a subscription set of murder mysteries. That's kind of the best way that I can describe it. Every month you get a box, and in the box comes with a bunch of stuff. And the stuff is supposedly like artifacts, evidence, maybe dossiers related to an ongoing murder mystery. And with the normal Hunt-A-Killer set, with the basic Hunt-A-Killer, you're basically trying to eliminate one suspect every month. And that's the goal for each month, and it goes on for 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, sixth month, you've discovered the actual killer, hopefully. Hunt-A-Killer Horror is a little different, and actually I don't really know anything about it, except that I've got the entire set here. They've been sending me a box every month, and like a fastidious and careful and always on top of things guy that I am, I have not opened up any of them yet, and I've got 6 of them in front of me, so I think I've got the whole set. So we're going to be breaking into the first one now, and I will make a little caveat. I did just sort of crack the seal on them because they are, let me flip my camera around here, they are 100% identical to one another. From the outside, it doesn't say like box 1 or whatever. So I cracked them open just a second ago just so I could get them in the right order, but we're not going to be doing all 6 of them today. Oh dearie, no. Hopefully we'll get through the first one. We'll see. But I think typically they take anywhere from a half an hour to 2 hours to complete a box, depending on how much the difficulty and how much you want to get into it. So we're going to crack open the first one now, and it's what I've got planned for my evening, and I'm glad that you're joining me here. So, and we're going to find out more as we go. I think I'm going to need to set up some stuff in terms of like logging into their website and stuff like that, if it's like the other Hunt-A-Killer stuff. So we'll try and do that on cam if we can. Let's see. So we've got the first box here, and as I mentioned, it is still taped up. This is how it came to me. So let's see what they have sent me from Oh, jeez. I should mention I've seen the original Blair Witch movie, I think, one time. Around the time that it came out, and that's about my knowledge of the franchise. So I'm gonna say it's some kind of woods in Maryland, maybe. And I think maybe a witch is involved in some way. No, let's find out. I'm sure they'll tell me. Okay. So, Blair Witch episode 1. So first thing we've got is a checklist. I should have a letter from Rosemary, a map of Burkittsville. Is it Maine? Burkittsville, Maine. A notebook, magazine spread, newspaper article, Liam's behavioral record, interview transcripts, missing person report, a pen, and a bracelet. And in every box you get like one or two things that are just purely just like a souvenir novelty thing. Like in one of the boxes that they sent me as a free sample to do a review, there was like a koozie, right? It had nothing to do with I just killed something in my bug zapper. It had nothing to do with the story or the mystery. It was just a koozie. So I'm guessing that this pen and or this bracelet is going to be something like that. And on the back it says, to complete this episode, we have to check all the documents and items for clues, decipher all the coded messages, and help Rosemary complete her objective, which I assume will be in this letter from Rosemary. When I'm finished, I go to kentcase.com, log in using the password Burkittsville8, open Rosemary's tip line, type in the name of the building Liam was heading toward right before he disappeared. Fun stuff. Okay. And I've got, this entire box is containing one fairly hefty manila envelope. So let's take a look inside. Okay. Let's see. That appears to be... Oopsies. Now this is going to be a big pain in the butt to do one-handed. That appears to be... Is this the map? This is our map of Burkittsville. Okay. And we've got descriptions of all of the locations. On the other side, apparently this came from the Burkittsville History Museum. I'm going to fold up the map for now, but we're probably going to have it unfolded for the majority of our experience. Let's see what else we've got in here. This looks like interview transcripts. That's cool. Okay, looks like a lot to read. Legends Never Die in the Witch's Woods from Untold Tales magazine. Special feature. Okay. What is this here? The Silver Moon Diner. Be sure to ask about our damn fine coffee. So this looks like an article, newspaper clipping. Newspaper article. All right. This must be Liam's notebook. It was blank. Looks like he took a few notes here. What's in the back? A ruler, that looks important. I bet I'm going to be needing to measure something at some point. And leaves, different kinds of leaves. And I bet this notebook will also double as, if I wanted to, a notebook for me to write in. What he taught me in case I forget, and then there's, looks like a tic-tac-toe playing field with the letter A and another type of leaf. So what else we got in here? Like there's my pen. I think that is everything. So I'm going to close the back up. Let's see. This must be Rosemary's letter. This is sheriff addressing people. Don't know what that is. This is an incident report. This must be the record. It says there's Liam's behavioral record. And this is talking about a fight that Liam had. So I guess this is the missing person report. It's not clear that it's a missing person report, but I guess this was him announcing the missing person. Okay. All right, should we read this letter? Alexa, set volume to 1. I'm going to turn down some of that ambient spookiness here. All right, looking at all of these materials and the amount of text involved, I'm thinking we might not read everything on the stream. But I think what we'll do is we'll read the letter as a little taster. And then maybe we'll go dark for some of it, and maybe possibly check back in later. We'll see. If you have any interests, be sure to ping me and let me know. Otherwise, I think we might just call this the first installment of Monocular Unplugged. I know it's not that fun, but it is much later in the day than I was planning on starting this. And it's a lot of reading out loud, so yeah, we'll maybe try it again in a different time. But let's read this letter first, so we can sort of get a sense of what the mystery is, and then yeah, might see you around. All right, let's see. Hello. It's been weeks since I felt any sliver of hope, and frankly, I was starting to lose my mind a little before I found you. 4 months ago, my 15-year-old son Liam went missing. I'm not going to tell you that I've got a sixth sense or gut feeling or a mother's intuition. I don't buy into all that. But I do believe he's out there, and that he needs me. He needs us. Liam was always a sensitive kid, but he was devastated when his father passed away 4 years ago. He's been in a vulnerable place ever since. The sheriff told me that this sounds like a typical teenage runaway, but that can't be the case. I know Liam, and he cares too much about me and his younger brother Tristan to put us through this. He loves our dog Tank. He loves our home. I don't think if I were writing this letter, I don't think I would ever say, me and his younger brother, Tristan. It took the Burkittsville Sheriff's Office less than a month to write Liam off as a lost cause, and it took the rest of the town even less time to blame his disappearance on a ridiculous local superstition. Let me explain what I mean by that. This area is small and isolated, and the only thing that's ever made us worthy of any note is a long history of deaths and disappearances that stretches back to the 18th century town of Blair. So much genuine evil in the world, and people choose to believe in boogeymen. Since the people around here have decided they're interested in fables over facts, I have to rely on you to get to the truth. Sending you a few documents from the official investigation into Liam's disappearance, whatever help they may be, as well as a few things that may help you understand both Liam and this town a little better. I'm also sending everything I found laid out on Liam's desk the day he went missing. A magazine spread, his journal, and a pen that was placed inside of it. Additionally, I'll be passing on something that has me fear for the worst, despite myself. It's a bracelet that was given to Liam by his father. That's this. He never takes it off. We've got a vague idea of Liam's movements on the day he went missing, but his trail goes cold in the early afternoon. Even though people saw him wandering around town, none of them knew exactly where he was going. I need you to find out where my son was going on the day of his disappearance. Finding that place is our best shot at discovering evidence that nobody else has looked over yet. As soon as you figured it out, contact me at kentcase.com. It's a personal site I set up to keep tabs on Liam's case. The password is Burkittsville8. You should see a link to my tip line. Just type the name of the place Liam was headed there. I'll be sure to respond as soon as possible. Eagerly anticipating your findings, Rosemary Kent. So we've got our goal, right? So the only thing that really takes you out of the immersion of the experience is this little, list of contents, table of contents, which they kind of have to include, I get. But everything else is done sort of without breaking immersion, which is the thing that I kind of like about this. So I think the first thing that we would want to look at is his journal, right? So this bracelet is interesting. Alexa, set volume to 2. There we go. Okay. Alright, so let's take a look at Liam's journal and see what we've got in here. Well, he taught me in case I forget. It's a mystery. Yesterday, Ms. Tan gave me this notebook and said I should use it to write to Dad. Then she sat there with a stupid, calm look on her face while I screamed at her about how dumb an idea that was. Wish I hadn't done that. It wasn't right, and it wouldn't have made him proud. Dad, you were always so... I'm really lonely without you. And I know how hard Mom is trying, and I know she misses you too. Last night, Tristan couldn't remember that thing you used to say all the time, and he started crying. I pulled him out of it, though, helped him remember by making it a puzzle. Just like how you would have. I think Tristan was too young to hold on to all the code stuff you taught us. But I remember, it would be good for passing notes in class if I had anyone to pass notes to. What he taught me in case I forget. A. A in the corner. Dad, you used to tell the coolest stories about the woods. Mom used to make fun of you for believing in all that stuff. I don't know if you actually believed it, though. I think you just knew how fun it was. Time passes more easily out here, not slow and boring and lonely like at home or in school. So he did like to go out to the woods. Dad, Mom just sent me to my room. How old does she think I am? She doesn't treat Tristan like this, and he's not even 10 yet. She said I upset Tristan. Then we all started fighting again. I don't know why I get like that. It's just everything annoys me. I don't know. Dad, the new kid didn't know anything about Burkittsville, so I took him by the forest and told him all about what happened. I showed him where the tree was and everything. For a second, I felt like I was going to throw up or something, or cry. Then I saw how freaked out he was. It all suddenly seemed hilarious. Then I started laughing and he ran away. So lame. And then he told on me exactly what I needed. Apparently he told Ms. Tan that he saw somebody watching us too. I said I didn't see anything. Dad, guess I shouldn't be surprised that nobody else is willing to walk in the forest with me. At least Tank keeps me company. And you, in a way. Dad. Rather ominous space there. Gotta find out more about the forest. Mom can't know. She'll just do that deep, guilt-inducing sigh thing and send me to my room like she always does. There's a bunch of stuff in town that I can look into, but I think I know exactly where to start. Dad, I can't believe how much stuff there is to go through down there. All crammed into those shelves you built when you renovated the place. Heading back tonight. Alright, that sounds like he went to the historical society or whatever. Dad, everyone leaves me alone down there. I can do whatever I want, even if I don't want to do anything at all. Not a bad place to spend the weekend, especially if I stop 2 doors down to grab something to eat first, or if I can get Hank to make me a sandwich. Alright, so somebody named Hank is involved. Dad, nobody else knows I come here. It's always just business as usual upstairs. Not that they're ever busy. I take my time walking here through the woods and walking back. Alright, so he has to go through the woods to get there. Dad, I finally figured out how to talk to him. He's an interesting person, if he's even a person at all. He knows things about you that he shouldn't have any way of knowing. Dad. Oh, that's creepy. Let's see. Alright, I'm going to take a look at the map. So, somewhere with a downstairs. I'm guessing it's got to be this. Let's see. Here's the Silver Moon Diner. Could be the Something Borrowed Antique and Curio Store, which is right next. So this is where's Something Borrowed? It's number 20. Oh, that's all the way over here. What's 21? Violet Apothecary. Originally the site of the area's first general store, Violet Apothecary now sells a lovely array of scented soaps and candles, alongside its traditional store of tinctures, salves, and other folk remedies, which are made according to recipes that the family of store proprietor Violet Karish has preserved for generations. Well, that doesn't sound like the place. I was thinking because it's next door to this diner. What about number 16? Proprietary Good Neighbor Library. That's got to be it, right? He mentions shelves. Originally the estate of the wealthy, childless, and notoriously reclusive widow, Proprietary Good Neighbor.
This building was refurbished and reopened as the town's library after Goodneighbor's sudden death. It's got to be A, right? Because he mentioned those shelves you built when you renovated the place. And he also mentioned if I stop 2 doors down to grab something to eat, or if I can get Hank to make me a sandwich. Okay, so that's actually not very good because the diner is 1 door down, not 2 doors down. But then 2 doors down from the diner would be number 8 or number 13. What's 8? The sheriff's office. Well, that's definitely not where he went. Originally the site of a makeshift prison and still home to numerous legal documents from throughout the centuries, the Burkittsville Sheriff's Office has long been a beacon of law and order for the town. And then number 13, the McQueen Auto Shop, run for more than 50 years by the incorrigible Rickard Thunder McQueen. If you have ever have the need to stop by, be sure to ask about his collection of century-old photographs of historical Burkittsville. Well, actually, he does sound like it's got some historical stuff. Okay, here's a cafe that's 2 doors down from the Good Neighbor Library. So I'm still thinking the Good Neighbor Library is pretty up there in terms of where he might have gone. What started as one of the town's only restaurants remains one of its most enduring and eccentric establishments. Let's see. And then there's the Something Borrowed, which is number 20, which is all the way over here. And that's 2 doors down from the bakery. Siciliano's. Want to make a cake you saw on that TV show? We can handle that for you. That's nice. He definitely didn't go to Burkittsville Community College, go jackalopes. Alright. I think it's time to check out some of our other items here. So let's take a look at I wonder if this pen... Blacklight. I knew it. It's from the Untold Tales magazine. I have an inkling that there's going to be a hidden message in this magazine. Because in order to have hidden messages that'll show up under a UV light, it has to be, as far as I know, it has to be, what's the word? Like, it has to have this glossy finish to it. So these materials probably wouldn't have hidden messages. Let's take a look, actually, with this black light. Here we go. Where to find out more? I guess the Yizvgs still my best bet. So there's definitely some sort of a cipher here. And I think my only clue right now is the H is after an apostrophe, so it's most likely the H is an S. Let's see. While uncertainty clouds the region's present and mystery haunts its past, one thing is and always has been certain. The Black Hills Forest is a region afflicted by the trauma of those who have vanished there, and perhaps by the creatures who took them as well. I saw symbols clear as day on the trunk of a big white tree, smack dab in the middle of the forest. Looked like wide open eyes and screaming mouths all jumbled up together. When I tried to show the tree to my wife, I couldn't even find my way back to it, even though I hadn't gone more than 10 feet away. I stopped going to the forest altogether pretty soon after that. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched by the Carver. Elliot Colson, lifelong Burkittsville resident and former hiking enthusiast. There's a hidden message. It is also completely in code. Okay. There is a lot here to go over. I'm going to set this one aside for now. I want to look at this police report, or the sheriff's statement about the missing person. Sheriff Lanning. Good afternoon, everybody. As you all know, a 15-year-old boy named Liam Kent was reported missing by his mother 3 days ago. At this time, we are unable to confirm his last known whereabouts, but we have no reason to assume a crime has been committed. This is Aubrey Bird with the Burkittsville Town Bugle. Sheriff Lanning, what do you say to the rumors that... Please, if there was time, I will take questions at the end of my statement. Certain parties to locate Liam Kent have been mobilized. We have already recovered one of the boy's personal effects, which was found by a civilian on the northern sidewalk of Main Street. We're taking that as a very positive sign. If you have any information that would be of interest to our investigation, please come forward. I must urge you, however, not to use this opportunity to contribute to the spread of dangerous rumors and hearsay. I will now take questions. Miss Bird? Some people are wondering if the case is being considered in relation to many of the previous disappearances that have historically been attributed to... You're correct in pointing out that Burkittsville as a community has endured its fair share of incidents like this, and so I say this with the full knowledge of what many of you must be thinking, even if you have the good sense not to say it out loud. It is of the utmost importance that we keep ourselves calm, collected, and above all else, logical. I will not entertain any suggestions involving outdated superstitions, especially not when the case in front of us appears to be perfectly cut and dry already. Do not contact my office to provide details that might distract from the matter at hand. If we are able to keep our heads level, I'm confident that we will be able to locate Liam Kent and return him home. Thank you. Sheriff, if I may, the former Sheriff Lanning, that is to say your uncle, apologies, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, the former Sheriff Lanning led several high-profile searches in the 90s. How similar do you think that the search for Liam Kent will be to that investigation, considering... Thank you, that's all the time I have. Please address my office with any further questions. End of transcript. Let's see here. Let's see what this article's about. Burkittsville Town Bugle. Burkittsville loses a friend. Local killed in forest accident. By Aubrey Bird. Aha. Hudson William Kent, a carpenter and family man favorably known as Hud, died after an accidental tree fall Thursday. Kent was cutting timber in the Black Hills forest with his 11-year-old son Liam when a tree began to fall at an unexpected angle, according to Rosemary Kent, his wife. Kent fell into the path of the collapsing tree as he pushed his son out of harm's way, according to Sheriff Lanning, who took Liam Kent's statement on the scene. This incident was as tragic as it was gruesome, Lanning said in a statement. We were heartbroken. The news of Hud's sudden and untimely passing was shaken us to our very foundation. Our love goes out to his wife and their young children, Liam and Tristan. Following in his father's footsteps, Kent became a logger and carpenter soon after graduating South Woodland Academy at the age of 18. Kent's craftsmanship can be admired in nearly every home and municipal structure in town. Kent was known among those close to him as a skilled craftsman with a razor-sharp wit and an abiding love for his family. He loved making me little pendants and bracelets and writing me notes just to remind me how much he cared, Rosemary Kent said in an interview. He'd been doing that ever since I asked him out in junior year of high school. A funeral service is scheduled for 1 p.m. Sunday at St. Diasmus Church on Main Street. Father Calvin Hobart will officiate. Flowers, donations, and condolences may be offered to the Kent family at the Silver Moon Diner during a reception to be held immediately after the service. No viewing has been scheduled. Okay, give me some good background information. Let's see, and here's our incident report. Earlier today, Liam entered into a physical altercation with another student in his grade in the hallway outside of my office. The incident occurred during the interval between second and third periods, so approximately 11:10 a.m. While I did not witness the beginning of this altercation, I did witness the aftermath of a punch Liam threw, which knocked his classmate to the ground. After I broke up the fight and asked a teacher to escort the other student to the nurse's office, I took Liam into my own office to discuss what had just occurred. To quote Liam, "I don't know why I hit him. He was just standing there looking at his phone and he started laughing at something. Before I even knew what I was doing, my arm just moved on its own. I pushed him. Then he pushed me back, so I hit him, and he fell. He looked like such an idiot with his blood coming out of his nose. Then you came in and stopped me from whatever I was going to do next, and now we're here." Additional comments. Per Liam's behavioral records, he has been actively alienating himself from children his age, whom he used to consider friends since his father died, and he's not made much of an effort to foster new friendships. Liam prefers to spend his free time alone, staring off in the direction of the tree line, or drawing. Liam, while quite a talented artist, has been fixated on his father's death in his personal drawings. The few pieces of art I have observed contained various versions of the same scenario. An unidentified person, whom I can only assume to be Hudson, underneath a large tree. While Liam is present at school, he displays a markedly maladjusted attitude. On the occasions he does turn his work in, it is sloppy and half-completed, often devolving into doodles and drawings. Liam struggles socially, limiting his interactions with the other students to the bare minimum of what is required for group activities. Even when he does engage, he struggles to interact on both micro and macro levels, whether it be the completion of a large-scale task or simply listening to instructions. On the rare occasions I have been able to get Liam to open up, he has confessed a bit more about his personal coping strategies, namely that being around Hudson's work makes him feel close to his father. He tells me he often spends his time outside of school in a building originally built in the 1920s, which his father renovated shortly before his death, although he will not disclose the specific location of this place. Okay, so that is a clue. A building originally built in the 1920s, which his father renovated shortly before his death. So we were looking at number 16 as a primary candidate for where he was going, the Good Neighbor Library. It says established 1723. But it was refurbished. Doesn't say the 1720s, does it? Building originally built in the 20s. It could be the Burkittsville History Museum, which was built in 1921, organization dedicated to chronicling and preserving the town's deep, complicated history. Call to schedule a walking tour of the town today. But the History Museum's here, number 6. Okay, so that is 2 doors down from number 2, Andy's Cafe. And it's also 2 doors down from number 20, Something Borrowed. The only thing is, though, the History Museum does not say that it was refurbished or rebuilt. Let me see. However, I feel as though his closeness has done little to improve Liam's mental state. All of his problematic behaviors have significantly increased in frequency and severity in recent weeks. Liam's actions have become increasingly worrisome, both inside and outside social contexts. While this is the first time that Liam has acted violently toward another student, his lack of apparent guilt makes me worry that it will not be the last. Plan of action. I will be increasing the frequency of my and Liam's one-on-one buildings from bi-monthly to weekly. I will also be in more frequent communication with Liam's mother regarding her son's progress. Additionally, I have provided Liam with a journal and asked him to try to write out his feelings in a concrete way, rather than revisiting the moment of his father's death. I suggested that he try to frame these entries as letters to Hudson himself, though Liam reacted to the statement with extreme negativity. I will be filling copies of this and all future reports with the principal's office in order to best monitor the situation. Counselor Andrea Tan. Okay, so if we could figure out who Hank is, that would also be a big help, because he says he might be able to get Hank to make him a sandwich. Yeah, let's take a look. There's a lot to go through here. My goodness. A lot of interviews to go through, but this is going to be very important, I can tell. All interviews conducted and transcribed from audio by Sheriff Wes Lanning, Burkittsville Sheriff's Office. All right, this is an interview with Rosemary Kent. That's Liam's mom. I can't believe this is happening. I'm sorry. I know that I said I was ready, but how could anyone ever be ready to do something like this? We can try this again later if you'd like, Mrs. Kent. No, it's fine. I'm fine. Let's just get this over with. I went to work before Liam or Tristan woke up. Shelley called me real early, said she was sick, and asked if I could cover her morning shift. That's Shelley Frost. Thank you. Everyone at the Silver Moon is really good at that. I get the feeling they all call me before anyone else, ever since HUD. But I remember I woke up, left a note, and went to work. What was on the note? Just telling the boys that I went to work, when I'd be back, to heat up some leftovers for dinner. I always put it on the sticky note, right in the middle of the television. That way I know they'll see it. And tell me what happened next. I saw Liam in the afternoon. I don't remember exactly when. It was during the lunch rush, which is usually between 12:30 and 2. I asked him where Tristan was, and he said, at home. Hank, our line cook, told me I was being paranoid, that Tristan was getting old enough to be on his own. Hank's kind of old-fashioned, rub some dirt in it kind of guy. Either way, he made up 2 sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly for Tristan, and tuna for Liam. Liam took them for Tristan for lunch, or I guess I thought he did. When I got home a little after 9, he wasn't there. All Tristan had eaten all day was a bowl of cereal and an orange. I looked everywhere for Liam, but I couldn't find him anywhere. I looked everywhere in the house, all over town, then I had to call you. I couldn't think of what else to do. Do you happen to remember what Liam was wearing when you saw him at the Silver Moon? let me think. He was in a black shirt, for sure. Most of his clothes are black. And a large denim jacket and a beanie. I remember that he was carrying his backpack, which was a little strange because it wasn't a school day. Still can't really believe that any of this is happening. I feel numb all over. You'll find him, won't you, Wes? I'll do everything in my power to, Rosemary. Okay, so Hank is the line cook at the diner. So that part from Liam's journal does not really help me that much. Here's an interview with Tristan Kent. Also present is Rosemary Kent, his mother, as he is a minor. Okay, Tristan, just take your time and tell me everything you remember about the day you saw your brother. The last day you saw your brother. Tell me about the whole day. Even if you think something may not be important, you never know what can be useful. Yesterday, Liam got up later than he normally does. I'm usually up before him, and Mom tells me I always have to be quiet because Liam's sleeping. So I usually take Tank, that's our dog, and play outside. But yesterday, Mom had to go to work early. She left us a note like she always does when she leaves, so... What is it, Tristan? So, I did something, but I know I'm going to get in trouble for it. There's nothing you can get in trouble for. Sorry, that's his mom. There's nothing you can get in trouble for, sweetheart. Just tell Sheriff Lanning everything you know. All right, well, since nobody was there, I watched a super neutral marathon on TV. Oh, Jesus, Tristan, that's okay, honey. My mom says it's a scary show because it's about ghosts and monsters. I'm not supposed to watch it, but I think the guys that host it are funny. I watched it really quiet so I wouldn't wake Liam up. After an episode was over, I asked Liam if he wanted to do something, and he was like, "No way, skunk." That's what he calls me sometimes, is skunk. He thinks I don't like it, which is why he does it, but I do like it. What happened next, Tristan? So he said, "No way, skunk," and he said he was going to go do some stuff. He likes to be alone a lot. But I knew he was going to bring back lunch, which is what he usually does when he goes on long walks like that. So I watched some more Super Neutral and waited for him to come back. But he didn't come home after that. I had an orange for lunch. Where do you think he went? There's an interview with Father Calvin Hobart at St. Diasmus Church. Go ahead, Father. Yes, I do remember seeing Liam on that day. I was out back behind the church, tending to the cemetery, which I typically do every Saturday around 3:30. Sometimes some of the kids from the high school come and hang out back there. They always leave cigarette butts and beer bottles, which obviously I'm not happy about. But I'd rather them be hooligans in the cemetery than go out drive somewhere and potentially hurt themselves or someone else. Ah! That was a completely unintentional jump scare. I just dropped my phone. Go on. So I saw Liam while I was cleaning up all that trash. He left some of his own, the crust of the peanut butter sandwich. Very wasteful. Regardless, Liam was out past the graveyard, standing just on the edge of the woods and looking in. I don't know how long he was out there before I saw him, but he stood like that for a moment, before seeming to lose interest, and then he moved along and walked away down Main Street, but the whole time he was looking over his shoulder. Not at me, mind you, but at the forest. Alright, well that is definitely a major clue. So let's take a look at our map again. Alright, so this is where he was, number 4. The oldest location in Burkittsville, even predating the church. What began as an impromptu burial site for victims of the various maladies and violences that befell townsfolk slowly became the official Burkittsville Cemetery. And the St. Diasmus Church, the first structure erected when Blair Township was initially founded. It's very nice that they gave the clue that the building dates back to the 20s, And so many of the buildings were built 1620, 1720, 1820, 1920. All right, here's an interview with Harriet Gilliard. Sunday, 4 p.m., Burkittsville Sheriff's Office. Tell me exactly what you saw, Ms. Gilliard. In chronological order, please. Thank you for seeing me, Sheriff. Yes, I first saw Liam when I came into the Silver Moon. Silver Moon is allowing you back in now? I'm not going to have to come back down there for another complaint, am I? That thing with the mustard was just a misunderstanding. Anyway, I saw Liam. He came inside, looked perturbed. Hank made him a couple of sandwiches after he talked to his mother, and then the kid left. Did Liam say anything to you when you saw him? We had a little conversation. He started, "Hello, Miss Gilliard," and finished off with, "Goodbye, Miss Gilliard." What did you two talk about? Nothing really, and not for very long. I asked him how his day was going. He said not well, but that hopefully it would be better after he finished his research. I asked what kind of teacher assigned him homework over a beautiful weekend like this one, and he just said goodbye and walked away. He seemed a little high-strung. He kept fiddling with his bracelet so much I worried he'd tear it clean off his wrist. All right, Harriet, is that all? No, actually. I saw him again a few hours later, just for a second. I was buying some stamps around 4, and I saw him walking on the other side of the street. He looked a bit grim, if you ask me, hunched over. I must have assumed that he was walking home, but I suppose that wasn't the case after all, was it? Then, when I finished up and walked across the street to my car, I noticed something on the ground. It was the same bracelet I'd seen Liam wearing earlier. It must have fallen off when I saw him walking. Did you take the bracelet, or did you leave it there? I took it. I meant to give it back to his mother the next time I saw her. It's right here. Thank you for your cooperation, Miss Gilliard. Okay. So she was buying stamps. Did it say that she was at the grocery store? I don't think it just says she was buying stamps. So you could buy stamps at a grocery store for sure. You could also buy stamps at the post office. Number 7, there's a postal box there. Burkittsville Post Office. Rain or shine, hell or high water, the folks at the post office will always ensure that everything ends up exactly where it belongs. Can you buy stamps at a pharmacy? Possibly. Always stocked with everything you might need, from medicine to snacks to home goods. Be sure to ask about the mini museum of historical snake oils and cure-alls, dating back to the 17th century. The pharmacy was established in 1922. And then number 11, Nathan's Cigarettes. The home away from home inn. There's always room for you for those passing by. Who knows, maybe you'll like it so much you'll never leave. That definitely is not someplace you could buy stamps. What's this, number 15? Patrick's Bar. Not going to base stamps there. Number 10 looks like a gas station. The Farm gas station. So you could buy stamps at a gas station for sure. I don't know. He definitely didn't go to something borrowed, because that was established in 1945, and we're looking for something that was established in the 20s. I'm still going to go with my first instinct, which is number 16, the Propriety Good Neighbor Library, which was established 1723, which is technically the 20s. Propriety Good Neighbor Library. It's right across the street from the pharmacy. Let's see. Saw him again a few hours later, just for a second. I was buying some stamps. So I'm walking on the other side of the street. He was hunched over. I finished up and walked across the street to my car. I noticed something on the ground. Same bracelet I'd seen Liam wearing earlier. It must have fallen off when I saw him walking. So if, let's say, she was here at the post office, why would she have had to cross the street to get to her car? And maybe her car was at the auto shop. Which was built in the 20s. And has centuries-old photographs of historical Burkittsville. But I still think it's got to be the Propriety Good Neighbor Library, because that mentions that it was refurbished specifically. Alright, we've got a few more interviews to go through. And the stuff that comes up in these documents might not even be necessarily relevant to this case, but it could be something that's important for a future box in this series. So basically everything is important. So this is an interview with Clementine Lidwell at the Propriety Good Neighbor Library. Oh, perfect. This might help clear something up for us. Okay, Ms. Lidwell, please just tell me everything you remember about seeing Liam on that Saturday. There's no such thing as an unimportant detail. Yes, sir. We were actually quite crowded that day, but I still remember seeing him because I made him finish his tuna sandwich before he came inside. Fish in a library, can you imagine? And, of course, because of the altercation he got into. Liam came into the library like he often does, very quiet. Never needs help, even in finding the most obscure reference material. It was right after story hour ended, so it must have been around 4 o'clock. Liam read for a little while on his own, and then another boy came in. I'm not quite sure of his name, one of the kids who only ever comes in to find the books for their summer reading, you know. But always a month too late. No, I don't have any more copies of the Scarlet Letter. Every other kid in town already has a copy out, or on hold. It's been a while since I've done a book report, Miss Lidwell. Of course. Anyway, Liam and this boy, they had an altercation, and Liam left. Tell me about this altercation. I couldn't hear their words exactly, but I think that Liam instigated it. The other boy looked like he was asking Liam something benign. Liam snapped back at him, which caused the other boy to raise his voice. I think he called Liam a freak or something like that. Within seconds, their fight escalated to shouting, and Liam threw his book at the other boy. It was a compilation of topographical surveys of the area, which is quite bulky. Did you know that every major survey of this area has yielded vastly different results from one another? No two people can quite agree on an accurate map. Although there are certainly those that experts consider to be closer to reality than others, it's quite a fascinating little mystery. Very interesting, Mrs. Lidwell, but not relevant to this investigation. Of course, right. After that, I reprimanded them both. We did what we usually do when children misbehave in the library. Had them leave for the rest of the day, cool their jets, you know, and come back tomorrow. The other boy refused at first, probably out of stubbornness. You know how kids are. Liam, though, left peacefully. He was so angry seconds earlier, but he was suddenly so calm. I don't know where he went, but I think I remember him turning left and walking down the street that way. All right. You've been very helpful. Thank you for your time. Sheriff, I know it's a little uncouth, but I simply have to ask. Everyone in my book club will be furious with me if I don't. Have you been looking in the forest? With everything that's happened in the past, don't you think that something unnatural may have happened to that boy? To answer the first part of your question, we are mounting search parties in the immediate area, as is typical for an investigation of this sort. I won't entertain the second part. With all due respect, almost everyone who lives around here has had something happen to them in the forest that there's no earthly explanation for. Once when I was walking around the very edge of the forest, I could swear that I saw a tall figure watching me. I got so scared that I tripped down and fell down a hill. I nearly broke my neck and killed me. Have a good day, now, Mrs. Lidwell. Okay, so 100% he definitely was in the library. We've got evidence of that. I think it is quite likely. Let's see, that's number 16, right? So it says he came out and then turned left. So that would be, his left would be this way, I believe. So he would start walking this way. I wonder if he went to this funny looking tree. What's that? It's the grocer. You could definitely, probably not buy stamps at that grocer. All right, so I think he went in here, he ate his sandwich, he left, he went this way. What's her name was buying stamps here and saw him across the street. Maybe he was going to the Historical Society building or the History Museum. Well, we've got an interview with Anthony Rapinoe at the History Museum. Mr. Rapinoe, I know that you're a family friend of the Kents. Yes, I've known Liam and Tristan their whole lives, and their parents as well. I grew up with Rosemary and Hud. I was the best man at their wedding. Did you happen to see Liam at all that day? Yes, very briefly. He passed by the front door right before I ate lunch, meaning that it would have been a bit before 1. He waved to me but didn't stop to talk. I assumed he was heading toward the Silver Moon. That makes sense to me. And you didn't see him anywhere else around town? I'm scheduled at the History Museum through pretty much the entire weekend, since those are our peak attendance days. Although, of course, peak is relative. And he didn't enter your building on the day in question at all? He didn't. How can you be so certain? Sheriff, it's the Burkittsville History Museum. It's not exactly the most popping place. Most of the time I'm in there alone all day, surrounded by yellowing books and clothing that belong to somebody's long-dead relatives. Although I haven't felt quite so alone in these past few weeks. Even when nobody comes in all day, I sometimes feel like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I feel like there's a presence somewhere, looking right around the corner or underneath the floorboards. Sometimes I hear things, like murmuring that I can't really make out. Did you hear any of these things on the day of Liam's disappearance? Well, no. Mr. Rapinoe, the first 72 hours are critical in a situation like this. I'm not about to spend any of them checking the History Museum's creaky floorboards for you. Thank you for your time. Well, that is a big mistake because creaky floor... So he's saying he hears things possibly beneath the floorboards. If we look back at Liam's journal, it says, I can't believe there's so much stuff to go through down here. And everyone leaves me alone down here. Nobody else knows I come here. It's always just business as usual upstairs. Not they're ever busy. Okay, so they just said the History Museum is never busy. I take my time walking here through the woods and walking back. Finally figured out how to talk to him. What does that mean? Alright, but that's got to be where he was heading. So it seems like he went to the Silver Moon Diner, went and ate his sandwich, and then went into the library and did some research there. Came out, maybe crossed here. And I don't know why he would have gone into the woods. Maybe there's an entrance to like an underground thing under the History Museum that can only be accessed from in the woods. Like some sort of a attic, or not attic, like cellar space. I don't know why you would have to go through the woods, though, if he's coming from here. Or he came out of this and made a left. His left would be this direction, so he's walking in this direction. And then the thing about stopping 2 doors down for some food... Here's Andy's Cafe, which is 2 doors down. And it would be on his way from Silver Moon Diner. And the History Museum, it's number 6, was established in the 20s. So I have a very strong feeling now that that's where Liam was headed. And that's all we need to figure out for this box. But there's also some other mysterious stuff going on here, because we've not yet finished reading this Untold Tales snippet. And we need to figure out what this is. And there's also an entire message in code here. So it could be a simple, like, replacement code, like this letter replaces this other letter, and I already know H must be S, because we've got an apostrophe H here, and we've got an apostrophe H here. And in addition, there's a standalone letter G. So G is going to be either I or A, because it's really the only single letter words we've got here in English. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this while holding a phone in one hand, but I'm going to have to try and like crack this cipher at some point. So let's finish reading this magazine and see what else is in here. Dossier of the Mysterious Deaths and Disappearances of the Black Hills Forest by Ed Barrett. It is the winter of 1785, back when the sleepy Maryland town of Burkittsville was still known as Blair, when a group of local children first told their story. They claimed an old woman who lived at the forest's edge had beckoned them to follow her back to her cottage. Upon luring the children to her home, the woman pricked their fingers with a needle, collecting their blood in bowls made of stone. In the minds of the townsfolk of Blair, there was no clearer sign of witchcraft. Some stories claimed that the townsfolk merely ran the old woman out of Blair to live out the rest of her lonely days in the nearby Black Hills Forest. Other stories claimed the citizens of Blair went much further than mere banishment. Let's check for secret messages. Aha. Crazy stuff. Why'd Aunt never tell me about any of this? Who's Aunt? Anthony? Anthony? Anthony. There it is. Anthony Rapinoe, local historian. Is that the person that was just interviewed? I think it was. Okay. The way my grandfather told me the story, the people of Blair pummeled her with rocks. Once their thirst for revenge was sated, some of the men dragged her out into the forest and left her there tied to a tree. Chelsea Traeger Brown, teacher at South Woodland Academy. Primary sources are few and far between, but some secondary literature indicates that the accused may have been hanged from one of the oldest trees in the Black Hills forest, an old dead tree whose bark was white like ash. Anthony Rapinoe, local historian. Nearly a year after the execution, during a winter far more bitter and cold than the one previous, the residents of Blair woke up to find half the town's children had vanished in the night. Among their number were all of those whose parents' accusations had led to the supposed witch's death. But did she die? Can a legend ever truly die? Well, the story of the Blair Witch stretches back over 200 years. Her legacy continued far past the moment of her supposed death and persists to this very day. The next high-profile sighting of the Blair Witch would occur in 1825, when witnesses claimed to have seen the pale hand of an old woman reach out of the water of a local creek to drag a helpless girl under the surface. The girl was presumed to have drowned, but her body was never recovered. Yet another child was reported missing in 1886. The victim was miraculously recovered from the Black Hills forest by the second search party sent after her. However, the men who made up the child's first search party were not as fortunate. They were found tied together and stabbed to death on a large rock at the creek's edge. The identity of their killer was never discovered. The witch seemed to lie dormant for over 60 years after the incident at the rock. However, tragedy would eventually strike the area once more when an eccentric hermit who made his home in the Black Hills forest confessed to the kidnapping of the 8 children and the murder of 7. Claiming the voices of an old woman urged him to commit these crimes. Was this man a cold-blooded killer, or would he have truly been compelled to kill by the Blair Witch herself? Then in October of 1994, 3 student filmmakers disappeared in the woods near Burkittsville while shooting a documentary. While their footage was recovered, the students themselves remain missing to this day. Merely 2 years after the students' disappearance, a young boy is believed to have been abducted and taken to the Black Hills forest. His search party would not emerge unscathed, or without grim and mysterious stories of their own to tell. While many locals still insist on the existence of a witch, some believe that a dangerous drifter is responsible for the most recent of these cases. Unfortunately, a lot of information about the search party has been lost to time. Many of them were workers at a nearby sawmill, which had many names over its long and troubled tenure in the region, but which has long since burned down, taking hundreds of invaluable records with it. This particular case hits closer to home for me than most of the gruesome incidents that haunt this town's history, since I was in high school when it happened. An interesting fact, hikers often found strange carvings in many of the forest's older trees for months after the case was closed. However, sightings of these carvings eventually died down. Isn't that strange? Shouldn't carvings on tree trunks have been more permanent than that? Let's see. Aha. So, our boy has underlined the phrase stabbed to death. And he put something else in code here. Have to research more about this. Let's see. That's the search party, right? That were stabbed to death. So I think I now have encountered everything in this box. So the next thing to do, I'm almost positive I know where the boy was headed, but I want to see if I can try to decipher this code with the information I have. I still don't really know what this means. This letter A in the corner. I'm guessing that might refer to some type of cipher. I'm not like super versed in a bunch of different ciphers. But I know that the people who make these boxes are really into ciphers, and I know that the first few had kind of an issue where they kind of assumed that you are familiar with all sorts of obscure ciphers that are used in augmented reality or alternate reality games and stuff like that. So I'm going to put the phone down, I'm going to grab a piece of paper, and I'm going to see if I can decipher this. And then, after we've given that a good shot, we're going to log in to Rosemary Kent's website and see if we can give her a location. Let's see here. Oopsies. So, I'm pretty sure I already have two of the letters. So I know that H has to be an S, pretty much. Oh dear. So this pen does not particularly write visibly, but actually, not sure if you can see it, but it does write invisibly. So I have my own pen now for writing secret messages. It's very cool, but that's not really what I need. I need an actual regular ink pen. Much better. All right, so we have H must equal S, and I'm almost positive that the other letter that I saw, a G, has to equal I. It could be an A, but I can't think of very many ways to begin a sentence with the word A and then a two-letter word. But I can think of a very common beginning to a sentence, I am, which makes me think that S might be A, V might be M. So the word we're looking at here is YZHV, and I think that's an N, V, M, G, apostrophe H. G, right? YZ HV, what's probably an N but could be an H that's just very small, V M G apostrophe H. Which is weird because if the letter G stands in for the letter I, that would be a word that ends with the letter I and then apostrophe S. But I can't think of any other ways to sort of complete that sentence. I guess the blank is still my best bet. It's got to be an apostrophe S word. I guess the blank's still my best bet. So assuming this is an S, S, and V would be an M possibly. So I've got so far blank blank S M blank M blank I apostrophe S, which honestly does not sound a whole lot like a word, but could be a word that I've just never heard before. We've also got what looks like just an S apostrophe on its own. Possibly that's another letter. It's very hard to make out. SLDWLVH HSV. HSV. If my thing is correct, that would be Sam. DSL GL HKZIV. GL. If G is I, GL could be is. HKZIV. I don't have Z, but I do have possibly H. And V would be M. No, if H is S, then GL can't be is, right? So what's another two-letter word that begins with I? Is there one? It? It? So L could be T. There's a lot of pure conjecture here, but it's how we do it. I used to do these, sometimes you'd get these in like the newspaper, where they would have these like little coded messages, and you basically just did it this way. You just kind of brute forced it, looking for like the most common letters and whatnot. DSL. So if L is T and S is A, what could DSL be? What's a word that begins with, that ends with AT? Bat, mat, sat. Gat, cat. But that doesn't make sense. Like cat it, bat it, sat it. It's also entirely possible that I'm not meant to solve this now, and that I'm going to get more clues to this in a later box. HSV. HSV. Which could be Sam. It could be saw if V is not M. All right, let's think about this another way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What's an 8-letter word? Is museum 8 letters? M-U-S-E-U-M. That's a 6-letter word. I think, let's see, going by what I have, I'm just going to read these out. If you are watching, you can write them down if you'd like to try to solve these ciphers yourself. So this is one of them. SLD space, I'm just going to write it down. SLD space WLVH space HSV space WVXV WV. It might also not be as simple as one letter always replacing a different letter, because that is a really weird word. WVXVWV. What word is like that? DSL. This is a new word, DSL. Space. GL space. XLMGILO question mark. DSL space GL space HKZIV question mark. So if L is T and S is A, that can't be right. One of those has to be wrong. How did I think that L was T, maybe? So just thinking, because both of these are questions, blank, 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 I think DSL could very well be the word was. So if DSL is was, here's the next one too. G, looks like G space SV, and it's a capital G, which is weird because the other one, I guess that's a capital S. Yeah. G space SV space IF O VH space LU, looks like a LU space IV ZORGB space WLM apostrophe G space. Oh dear, I can't even tell what that is. Something, some letter, K K O B X. I'm gonna say X K K O B period. G space S V space K C H G space R H, or it could be RN. I think that one might be an RN space Z C R Z V space I F G space G S V I V period R G apostrophe H space MIG space XIZ CB space, and then it looks like it's S apostrophe, but it could just be a G by itself. Space SLKV period. All right. So assuming DSL is the word was, right? But DSL couldn't be was if S is H. Right? And H has to be the letter S because it's after so many apostrophes. Now this one has apostrophe G too. WLM apostrophe G. WLM apostrophe G. So the other letters that can come after an apostrophe would be like a T. WLM apostrophe G. But I thought that G might be an I for some reason. Oh, because I have a standalone letter G. Right? Is this maybe an S instead of a G? The problem is, it's not only written in code, but it's also somebody's handwriting. WLM apostrophe G. So I think I'm not going to solve this one tonight, but I think I can report my findings to Rosemary. We can see if I'm at least on the right track, and we'll definitely come back to this code here. Maybe there's more clues in these documents, or maybe there's going to be something in a later box. So let's do that. Let's report our findings to Rosemary. So, I'm going to, for her letter, kentcase.com. And we're going to use the password Burkittsville 8. And we've got some more stuff that we can look through here, actually. So this actually might be, there's a lot of stuff on here. Liam Kent. So we've got a picture of Liam. Let me make sure there's no embarrassing tabs open. Basically, you can just see that I looked up Red Elvis's earlier today. All right. So I'm gonna actually grab the phone here. We can look at our screen together here. Alright, so we've got a photo of Liam here. My name is Rosemary Kent. I'm a resident of Burkittsville, Maryland. I knew it was Maryland! I'm currently in the middle of a personal investigation into the disappearance of my son, Liam. If you have any information pertaining to this case, you can use the website to contact me directly. I'm usually very quick to respond to credible evidence. What is good fences? Kent family curse? Have you ever heard about what happened to the Kent boy? This is a screenshot of a website. I'm guessing it's kind of like, what is it called? Like, that website where you basically, it's like social media for neighbors. Have you heard about what happened to that Kent boy? Poor Rosemary. It's a damn shame. First she loses her husband in that terrible accident, now her son too. Didn't something like this happen to her sister, Jess, right before she moved out west? Makes you wonder. You notice how it's been awfully foggy lately? You notice how it gets darker sooner than usual? You notice those weird marks and symbols about town? If you ask me, it's the witch. Certainly got me and my children in a fright. I'm keeping them close from now on. That's just old wives' tales. If you ask me, it was that creepy historian, probably trying to reenact a killing from one of those dusty old books. It's always the quiet ones, mark my words. I agree with Diane. Witches, ha! Have you asked the priest about the boy? He always gave me a bad feeling. You stop that. Father Hobart has been nothing but good to this community, and Anthony has always supported me and my family when we need it most, which is more than I can say for some people. You all know the woods are cursed, right? The witch lures folks into the woods. Karen might be onto something. If I were Rosemary, I'd take note. I'd say, go find the boy now, before something else does. Something wicked about those woods. My cousin's roommate once spent a day there and came back with a bushel of grays in his bright red hair and a scar he didn't remember getting. He also swears that he walked in at the crack of dawn, hiked for hours and hours. When he came out, the sun hadn't moved an inch in the sky. I hike in the Black Hills Forest every Sunday morning, and I've never seen any witch. I haven't seen anything weird or scary. That's exactly what a witch would say. I can't speak on whether it is a witch or not, but there is a pattern here that shouldn't be ignored. There's something out there that's been going on since before any of us were born. And that's going to be out there long after we're gone. I'd appreciate it if you kept your comments to yourselves. Believe it or not, you have no obligation to gossip. Even you, Anthony. Anyone consider Liam just ran away? He's a teenager. When he realizes he can't do much without his family, he'll be back. Okay. And then we've got some photos. Just one so far. This is the missing persons poster for Liam. Age 15. Last seen wearing a black t-shirt, denim jacket, beanie, carrying a backpack. Searched the area and found no signs of Liam as of yet. We are seeking additional volunteers in our effort to search the Black Hills Forest and surrounding area. Sheriff's Office requests that only those with experience in wilderness navigation and competence in basic survival skills volunteer to participate in these searches. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Liam Kent, please contact Burkittsville Sheriff Wes Lanning. Alright, and then we have a lot of blog posts, I guess, to read, so we'll just start going through that. Wednesday, 9:36 p.m. I just gathered up Liam's possessions from his desk and sent them away, along with reports from the sheriff's office. Up until about an hour ago, barely anything in that room had been touched for more than 4 months. Sheriff Wes Lanning, in all his wisdom and authority, barely looked through it, and I've wanted to keep it just how Liam would remember it, so that he can slot back into his life once he comes back, like none of this had happened at all. Seeing that desk blank damn near broke my heart all over again. But it's all in service of the greater good. I finally found someone who can help me, and I'm sending them enough evidence to hopefully move this case forward. I'm planning on giving them access to this site too, so if you're reading this, hello detective, feel free to read through all my previous posts if you want to get a better idea of everything I've been through. We've got a good long path ahead of us, but I truly believe that by the end of this, you're going to have led me right into my son's arms. Thursday. Turns out an empty inbox is almost as bad as an inbox full of nonsense. On the plus side, after many frustrating conversations, I finally convinced the sheriff's office to release some of the official documentation to me. Not that there's much, but it's more than I had yesterday, and it's important to keep that in mind. Getting HUD's bracelet back this way was a bittersweet experience, to say the least. Monday. Shame on each and every person who's still 3 months out, writes to me talking about witches and their minions and whatever else you believe in. I drink the same water as each and every one of you, so I know that whatever is in it, know that whatever it is that's making you people so gullible and insensitive lately is personal and not environmental. I'll be password protecting the site until further notice. Crowdsourcing for clues is clearly working just as well as leaning on Sheriff Lanning did. Looks like I'll have to take another approach. Friday. Sometimes I think that Tristan is too young to understand much of what's happening, but then he'll ask a question that breaks my heart. It's not like when Hud passed away. He was only 5 years old back then. I remember the day Hud put out one of Tristan's first toys in that time capsule he kept out in the forest. After Tristan lost interest in it, it looked like a baby bird in its own little nest of newspaper clippings and high school love notes. I remember the day we scattered Hud's ashes around that very same stump. Seeing Tristan looked so lost. He's grown so much so fast since then. I wish that my parents were still around to see it, or that my sister lived on the same side of the country. We don't usually get what we wish for, though, do we? Wednesday. Made yet another visit to the sheriff's office. I was in the waiting room for almost a half hour before being told some empty platitudes about patience and shown the door. I had that experience recently too, but it was at a doctor's office. Sunday, when Liam first went missing, there were search parties every day, then 3 times a week. Then 2, I'd like to thank the handful of you who are still coming out with me, and Tank every Sunday to spend all morning trekking through the woods. I'd also like to thank all the folks who've been stopping by the diner, just to drop a kind word and a tip. And to tip too much on a cup of coffee and a slice of pie. Damn fine pie. It means a lot. Tuesday. His 16th birthday is still a ways off, but all I can think about is what I'm going to do for it, if I still haven't found him by then. Hud's birthdays are already bad enough. Every time I look at a calendar, I feel like I'm staring at a graveyard. All those empty boxes lined up in a row. Sunday. I spent this weekend driving through 5 counties, plastering missing flyers up at every post office, town hall, library, and busy intersection I could find. Anthony was good enough to watch Tristan and feed Tank. Checked on a few of the old flyers around town, too, replaced the ones that were faded. Monday. To whoever left that very nice card on my doorstep, thank you very much for thinking of me. I'd bring it up to you in person, but you forgot to sign it. Tuesday. I'd like to remind everyone that I set up the tip line as a place for concrete information. I understand that your condolences are well-intentioned, I really do, but they're very much premature. Liam's case is still open. And to the people who've been writing to me about, or even alluding to, the witch, grow up and get some manners. Even as a kid, I never understood why some people in this town were so committed to believing in such an obnoxious host. Or such an obvious hoax. We might live in the middle of nowhere out here, but we still live in the real world. And there's no more important time to remember that than in a difficult period like this. Sunday. I heard a lot of things when my son Liam went missing 2 months ago, so I think these are in reverse chronological order here. It says the stuff has been on his desk. Four months, yeah. So his son went missing 2 months ago, so this is definitely reverse chronological order. It's nice that they gave days of the week, but not dates. First, I was told I was overreacting, typical teenage behavior. He stayed out late, he'll be back in no time. Then I was told to trust the Burkittsville Sheriff's Office to bring the boy home. Now I'm being told that it's time to stop waiting by the phone all night, to get myself into counseling, and to resign myself to the fact that troubled teenagers run away all the time, that I may never get any real answers. Well, everyone in this town was wrong when they told me not to worry. They were wrong when they told me to trust the sheriff. It seems only natural, then, that they'd be wrong about when it's time to give up. I've put enough trust in the hands of people who've proven themselves incompetent and uncommitted. I'm not going to make that mistake any longer. That's why I'm putting this page up. This site will serve as a way for me to keep track of everything that's going on surrounding Liam's disappearance. It will also be a way for me to communicate with anyone who might be able to help me. If you have any information as to Liam's whereabouts at all, please use the tip line on this site to contact me. I'm going to use the tip line right now. Please provide your email address. So I'm going to do that. swap us around here. Let's see. New message to Rosemary. Let's look at our instructions again. As soon as you figure it out, contact me at kentcase.com. Password is Burkittsville 8. You should see in the a link to my tip line. Just type the name of the place Liam was headed. Alright, so I'm going to type it in. I'm going to just do the whole name, Burkittsville History Museum. We'll just go there. Burkittsville History Museum. Burkittsville History Museum. Alright, we're going to send it, see what happens. I got a reply.
Liam was hanging out in the basement of the History Museum. I mean, why? What could have been down there? I'm heading over to take a look right now. It's right down the street from the diner. Could Sheriff Lanning really have missed something so close to his office? Hey, Anthony? Anthony? That's weird. The building's unlocked, but he's not here. Maybe he's in the basement. The door's right behind his desk. I'm just going to check. It's not locked or anything. Anthony? Are you there? If you're down there, I'm coming down now. Jesus, why is it so cold down here? Okay, there is no way the sheriff searched this. There's way too much stuff crammed in here. I'm gonna be here all night. But I guess the cold air will keep me sharp. Wait. There's a window open back there. That must be where the draft is coming from. Who would leave this open? Wait. This is Liam's handwriting. Liam's been here. Oh my God. This is his pencil case, and there are all kinds of notes. Hold on. What are these? I'm not sure how to describe what I'm seeing to you, but Liam's notes are covered in all kinds of strange markings. And this one is... Oh my God. This handwriting is... This is Hud's. Hud wrote one of these notes. Years ago, it looks like. Before the accident. You need to see this. I'm going to try to find some more evidence, and then I'll send everything over to you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've just gotten me closer to my son than I have been in months.
Oh, that's a really good hook for the next one. Alright, so hopefully we'll get another package in the mail. And we'll see what
all that stuff was that she found down there. Very exciting. All right, thanks for tuning in. It's going to be all for tonight, but we'll do it again maybe try for maybe in a week. We'll see. All right. Have a good night.